Hey everyone, welcome to the Blossom Together podcast. I'm Yousra.
And I'm Kirsten.
It's nice to meet you guys all. So we both just came back to work. How's that been going?
It's been good. I feel really, really good. I love being a mom, but I missed being a BCBA. So I like that I get to keep both of my titles and have a little bit of me back.
How's it been leaving Athena when you come to work?
I miss her so much when I leave the house. The car ride to work is really, really tricky. But once I get there, I feel like I kind of forget. And I'm like, okay, she's in good care. I feel really secure. And I just put my other hat on, put my work hat on.
Why do you feel like it's hard as you're leaving the house?
It's hard because the days aren't predictable. So some days she's smiling and is having a wonderful time.
Right.
But some mornings she's crying and I have to be to work on time. So I have to leave her crying. And I know she's in good care, but I just feel guilty. And
do you ever feel sometimes I get really anxious as I'm leaving the house? Only because I know, okay, I got 30 minutes to get to work.
Right.
And in those 30, I get ready in those 30 minutes too, right? I need to be dressed. I need to, I don't brush my teeth till maybe I get to work at 2. I don't brush my teeth till 1. And
You're
then, brushing my teeth. She's crying. I got to change her. And then I got to drop her off. And then I got to get to work.
There's so much to do.
There's so much happening. And I feel by the time I get to work, I'm so overstimulated.
I feel the concept of time as a parent it doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. I'm I don't know what time it is. I don't know what 15 minutes looks like anymore. No, I do get really stressed, getting ready. I do mornings. Yeah. So, and I'm a morning person. So I wake up at 5 before the baby, before my husband. I do all of my stuff for the hour. Right. And then once my husband and baby wake up, then I'm on baby duty. He's getting ready and then I have to head out.
See, I get up when the baby gets up and then we got to figure it all out as we go. Cause even if I try to get up, I feel she's up.
Yeah.
So it ruins my whole day.
Yes. And I feel you said Kinza is not super predictable with her time of waking up.
We have no
in the morning.
schedule. We're starting tomorrow. So fingers crossed, we're going to sleep train.
It's going to be good.
Hopefully.
I have faith.
I don't know.
I have faith in you.
I'm trying to create data sheets to go along with the intervals of when we're supposed to check in with her, but because nothing exists. I was there's no data sheets for this.
There's no data sheets. It's so hard being a mom in a BCBA. You need explicit data,
right? And I'm well, how do I know it's time to move back?
Right? You need to know if it's progressing. You're gonna have to create your own,
right? So I feel lately I've just been giving into anything at night just because I want to sleep.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I was gonna ask. So with being a new mom, how are you adjusting to just kind of understanding, I don't know, her behavior?
I mean, it's been hard because lately, I think after I became a BCBA, I've been looking at okay, does a child need to do this developmentally?
Yeah.
So I'm developmentally, she wasn't ready for anything really up until now. So now she's at the age where she can be sleep trained and she'll understand it and she'll be able to self-soothe. Mm-hmm. So now I'm trying to understand what we can do for her. But I still feel behaviorally, she's not going to understand a consequence.
No, absolutely not.
Or she doesn't even know why she's doing a lot of the stuff she does. So I don't know.
At this point, it's going to be all modeling on your end. What do you think is something that you've realized since becoming a mom that is much different than you expected it to be? Or what have you learned since becoming a mom?
No matter what advice you're given or what rules you have to follow, it's not possible. No. It's not possible because there's so many other things going against you in those moments, right? Yeah. If you're trying to get your child to sleep and she's screaming and you haven't eaten and
you haven't slept.
And you haven't had time to sleep, or I already said sleep, but you haven't even had time to change into a new set of clothes.
You haven't showered in 2 days.
Yeah. 2 days in, I'm smelly. She spit up on me. I'll hold her to sleep just so I can eat my sandwich while she's sleeping.
I've baby worn. I wear my little carrier with her in it, and if she's sleeping during that, I put a napkin on her head. I'm all right, I'm gonna eat while she's asleep.
While I'm wearing Kinza. I'm nobody's home. I was nobody's home. If I put her down, she's gonna wake up and
we're not willing to give up the nap.
We already spent 20 minutes trying to get I've already spent 20 minutes trying to get her to sleep alone.
Right.
I've walked around the whole house. I've turned off every light. I got the white noise on blast.
Yeah, it's just
and I'm
not.
She finally fell asleep and now I really have to pee. What do I do? So I've literally just peed while she's I wore her.
You have to. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
It kind of if you think about it so I've been a BCBA for 2 years. Mm-hmm. And before that, I was in AB for like 5 years. And I think about the advice that I've given parents.
Horrible.
And I never considered some of the barriers that are really impacting like treatment integrity with our parents. Do you think of any of those barriers?
Yeah. Some of the barriers, like how many kids do they have? Right now, we have one, right? And like, we're losing our mind. We have a single child. We're losing our mind. So think about some of our families that are dealing with like a new ASD diagnosis. The behaviors that come along with that might be different than like a lot of what their neurotypical siblings have done. So they're learning that. The behaviors are all new. They have to attend to the needs of the other siblings in the house. Yeah. They also probably are working full time to like have insurance to send their kids to these therapies, right?
They have, like, you have to think about it too with like, we've been talking about time. Time doesn't exist. Yeah. There are so many time constraints when I'm saying, hey, I need you to implement this strategy from the behavior plan without considering, like, is this going to be feasible with the amount of time you have, with the complexity of the treatment, or like other just outside, like you said, they're going to have other kids, or they're just going to have life stress. Like going back to work, I feel like I can't do anything with Athena. I get to cuddle her and put her to bed.
And that's about it.
And that's it. But I don't have time to like sit and learn with her because she does that with my mother-in-law or, you know, my husband.
And if we're telling them to only work on these behavioral strategies, then they're not really, you know, they're not even pairing really with their child. No. They're just doing this hard, heavy lifting at home, but they don't get that like fun time with their kid.
Right. They're not, they don't have the time, especially so when a child has such complex behaviors too, that impacts their relationship with them. Yeah. So they already might be feeling a little bit disconnected from their child. Right. And before we're providing them these strategies to become closer with them and pair and like really get to know them, we're like, okay, so your child is engaging in really aggressive behaviors. I need you to do this strategy, and this strategy.
And depending on the strategy that's suggested, like what does that even mean to them? Like if we're like, ignore them.
Yeah, do some weight strategy. Do they have 30 minutes to wait out a tantrum?
No. Does anyone have 30 minutes, like, as a mom to wait out a tantrum? Probably not.
I've learned. And I feel, and I don't know, I feel as though I was really insensitive prior to becoming a mom. Like, I was like, well, why aren't they waiting out the 20 minutes? Like, they really want this behavior to reduce. This is what you got to do. Figure it out. Wait 20 minutes.
And I feel like a lot of behavior analysts have, like, this mindset. I even remember, like, I think back to when I was a tech and, like, I'd have a really rough session with, like, a kid, right? Yeah. And the BCBA, like, to help calm me down, they'd be like, well, it's because their parents aren't following through with this, like, plan at home. That's why it's so hard for us here. Right.
So, yeah, kind of with that, too, you don't really think about words are hard.
You don't think about what's happening at home. You're just like, I gave them a plan, they aren't following it.
They're not
and
following
then, like,
it.
And as like a behavior analyst, I can see where it can get frustrating, but we need to sit and, like, have these conversations with them, like, and ask, like, why? Yes. Like, why isn't this being implemented? And then go from there. And even before we come up with, like, the strategy, like, what's going on in your house? Yeah. You know?
As a field, and I think it's because we are such a science-based and data-driven field as, like, behavior analysts, we're a very technological and conceptually systematic field. We want all these strategies to be, like, by the book. And I think it's because the emphasis we put on it in our education. We're like, you need to know all of these different terms and how to apply these terms. But we don't learn necessarily those soft skills on how to help others apply these without sounding, like, too rude, technological and insensitive. I was so insensitive prior to becoming a mom, I feel.
Well, even, like, as a new mom, I don't know. Like, we both, like, will contact nap sometimes. I don't know if, like, you have, like, an older visitor come to your house and they're like, well, you need to put her down. How's she going to learn X, Y, Z? But they don't understand, like, why we are even doing. Like, I want her to be quiet while you're here at my house, right?
Or it's like, this is her 30-minute nap. If I set her down, I'm going to get about 12 minutes, and then 5 of those minutes is going to be me returning to the bedroom. Like, I need that peace and quiet, like, because I've been working with her all day. I need that downtime. So I'm going to do that because it works for me.
I agree. So I don't know. It's kind of hard. Like, I feel like this topic of soft skills is kind of something new that we all started talking about. When we talk about compassion and, like, soft skills, how do we even teach that?
It's such a good question. It's not something that is explicitly taught by, like, you can't just read a book and know a soft skill.
Is.
Yeah, you can't know how to apply compassion. You have to, like, observe it and model it. So, like, we need, people, clinicians in the field who are willing to like model these strategies.
Right.
And like as students, we should be like getting involved in those parent meetings
right.
and like learning how to do these things.
Right. And do you feel like you had that opportunity as like a student to sit in on those meetings and learn that skill?
I wouldn't have if I didn't fight for it.
Right.
You have to fight for that. Did you?
I feel like no. I feel like maybe I sat in on a few parent trainings, and I felt like a lot of our parent trainings that I went to, it's the parent, like the BCBA is just checking in. Did you implement this? Oh, it didn't work. Okay, keep trying. And some of like the things they want us to keep trying are so hard.
Yeah.
If you're telling a parent that has a child that say like dumps every glass of water that they see, oh, you need to go and block every single instance of this. That's not possible. They have a million other things to do.
So
yeah.
Well, kind of going back to like the soft skills, how are you applying it, and like what do you think like empathy and compassion looks like in our parent meetings? Like how do you think that should look?
I think it's kind of like how we would with our kiddos, right? Like sit with them. Since our parents are able to sit and talk with us, tell me like what your days look like. Tell me what your week has looked like. And I kind of have them tell me like what the hardest moment was and why you felt like it was hard. If I had given them a strategy, why didn't it work in the moment? Like, did you have time, right? Beautiful. Like, did you have time to do this? No. Okay, so something I'll suggest is, okay, did you, like, maybe if you're going to work on the skill, setting some time up for it.
Yes.
Like, do it only on the weekend. Try it once and see how it goes.
Exactly. Yeah. It's something that, like, going off of that with consideration, like, to their time, I don't, when I'm setting up a goal, and we'll kind of, like, talk about this a little bit more later, but I don't expect them to be working on it all day.
Yeah.
If I really want them to like work on requesting opportunities, I'm like, okay,
15 minutes. Maybe.
15 minutes, maybe if lucky. Or when you're sitting at the snack, like at dinner table for 5 minutes, like set aside time to do it then.
Right.
If that makes sense.
And that's a perfect opportunity because there's so many opportunities to request at the dinner table.
Yeah.
And they're going to eat dinner every day. So why not do it then?
Perfect. Yeah. And that's their time. The kid has to eat. So, and a lot of times parents are already helping them anyway. So take advantage of that opportunity.
That's great.
And finding those moments with parents of like when is feasible to do these things.
Right.
What do you feel? What do you think empathy is like in your?
I would say empathy is the act of understanding how someone feels or what they're going through or what's really hard for them. And then I would say compassion is what you do with how you're feeling.
Yeah.
Or how you want them to react.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
What would you say?
I think, putting yourselves in their shoes, like thinking about what their day-to-day looks like, think about what they're going through and really understand that and like with compassion, acting on that.
Right.
So are they going to be able to do these things based on what they are going through in their day-to-day?
Right. And how do you feel like you would come up with the answer? Like, would you just straight up ask them or kind of like have a few meetings before you even set up the goal?
Yeah, I think it's really important before creating goals and like writing up, like parent goals are one of the most important part of our job. But before you get to that point, you really need to have meaningful conversations. Our meetings can't just be asking, like checking in on the child. We should also be checking in on the parent.
Right.
This is their whole life. Like I think about how complicated some of our technicians' days are, or some of my days are, like working with some kids. It's a hard day.
And that's all we're supposed to be doing too. That's the thing. That's our only job is like implementing these like goals.
Our focus is 100% on that, whereas parents have so many other things going on.
Right.
And they don't, it's not able to be thought about in the same way.
And I think about what the parent must feel when they read some of like these goals that like we come up with, right? Like when they're reading a goal that says learn, like the parent should be able to identify the 4 functions of behavior. Like what do you think a parent feels when they read that?
Well, so many things. One, it isn't their job. They didn't choose to like have a child with this diagnosis. It's not their job. They didn't choose to go to school for it to know all of these concepts. It's our job as clinicians to guide them on those practices. But in my opinion, I don't believe that they need to necessarily know the 4 functions. I think that they need to know how the strategies related to the 4 functions applies to their life.
Right.
It's so disconnected, I think.
Right. So something I have been starting to do is I learn like what scenarios have been happening in their house a lot. So, something we call escape, what does that look like in their house? That usually means the child before bedtime is just running out, asking for a million other things before it's time for bed.
Sure.
So instead of the parent calling that escape, they would just tell me, oh, they were having a hard time, like, going to bed.
Exactly.
So then I'd be like, okay, that's escape. So these are what things you can do to help you.
Right. And you can apply it then. Like, I don't think they need to know all 4 functions. But yes, if their child is like escaping a routine or if they're engaging in a behavior due to denied access and they tell me like, oh, my child, yells at me every single time I turn off the TV, then I'd be like, it seems like he's having a really hard time when you deny access to the TV. These are some things that we can do to help that.
Right.
But it's not necessarily that they need to know all of the 4 functions, why the 4 functions are important.
Some of their kids might not be doing all 4 functions either, right? There may be having to one. So why are we working on all 4? It's not valid, like socially valid for them.
I almost feel as a field that we really put so much emphasis on client goals. They need to be observable, measurable, and socially significant. When we're creating parent goals, I think we're really focusing on observable and measurable. We're not thinking about how they are going to be socially significant to their life. Does a parent care like about this concept? No. What do they care about? They want their child to, increase engagement with their sibling. They want them to play more. They want their child to like reduce the challenging behavior, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. So I don't know. I feel like it is hard though when you meet a new family and you're expected to complete the parent training report, like the report and create those goals in like a week and you just met this family. So I think that's where a lot of these like crazy, not like compassionate goals are coming from.
Almost cookie cutter.
Mostly cookie cutter. They're like, here, let's just put something in so we can send it into insurance and
get it approved.
Yep. And that's what they end up using in their parent trainings. But the goal was created before you even knew this family.
The goal is created and used for 12 different clients. That's not individualizing our treatments.
It's not.
It's just not fair to that family.
So what should we do to kind of avoid this? Like, we just met this family. Like, what goal would you put in for a family you just met? Like, and you only had like 15 minutes to do an interview.
You have a 15-minute parent interview. I really reflect on what they reported to me as their core goals for their child. The goals that we choose for the parents, in my opinion, need to relate to the goals that we're choosing for the client and themselves. So if the parent says, it's really important to me that my child learns to play with items. Okay, it's important that we work on that at the center for the kid. How can this parent help me create, like, by doing this at home? How can I create a goal that is going to have them working on the same skill as well?
Right. So can you give me an example? Like, say I'm the parent. I just came to you and I'm like, Kirsten, like, my child isn't playing with toys. All he does is he throws everything I give to him. What should I do?
Yeah.
Or like, what goal would you create for that?
So I think about like the moment. So anytime he's playing with a goal, he's going to throw, or a toy, he's going to throw it. So I'm going to think about, okay, so I want this child to play with more toys. So in the home setting, parent will contrive 2 opportunities per day of the child engaging with blocks appropriately as reported by the parent in weekly parent meetings.
See, that's perfect because I feel like a lot of, like, even I'm like, when I started off, I was like, how should I measure this? I don't know
how are you measuring?
How am I going to measure this goal? So I would write, like, observe sessions, like, but that doesn't always happen, you know?
Like, you can't. Some parents, like, are able to set aside time, but we're talking about barriers. They have time to meet with us 30 minutes to an hour a week, but do they have time to sit with us 2 hours a week and go, like, practice things with their child?
No.
Not every week. We
have
can do
you
it
ever
once
gotten
a month.
a goal, like, read a goal and it says, like, they'll be using data sheets for the parents? I'm like, I don't think this is going to ever happen.
You can't. Yeah. Like, so going back to data, how have you changed your data collection methods to make it feasible for parents? Because we do need, as behavior analysts, we need some.
I just kind of have also been using the reported by.
Okay.
Because parents don't have time to be going, like, taking data.
Yeah.
And I think it was you actually at, like, a meeting once, you were like, I have them text me every time something happened. And I'll use that.
That's my favorite form of data collection, especially for, like, toilet training, especially with my parents who I know that I communicate with a lot and I know has their phone accessible.
Right.
Just asking them, like, okay, when you guys are working on toilet training, text me. Did he pee or did he not pee? Did he have a wet diaper?
And I'll keep track of it for you.
Exactly.
It's not that hard for me. I know how to go on a data sheet and fill it out.
This is my whole job, to be there for them and support them. Yeah. How can I make it more manageable?
Exactly. For them, they're already working on such a hard skill. They didn't know how to play with their child, and we're telling them how to do it, so they're working on that. I don't want to add another barrier, another stressor for them while they're doing that, just so that they can report it back to me. And like, we can talk about it and we'll figure it out.
We can talk about it. Exactly. Because data is so important and we need to collect data on their parent goals. How do you have any systems or methods that you collect data on, like when they report your parent goal, like when you check in on it and things like that?
Honestly, no. Okay. Because I feel like I'm still learning as like a new behavior analyst. Like I've been in the field maybe like as a BCBA only a year.
Wow.
So, a lot of this stuff I just learned.
Sure.
Like how to create parent training goals. Because as a student, I was kind of like the person like the BCBA used to do their work. Like I would write the assessments, but the one part I usually didn't write was the parent training goals.
Yeah.
Because they were like, oh, we know the parents will do it.
Yeah, so it's not a system that you had practiced with, and that goes back to those soft skills. You didn't have the ability to like really get to know the parents and learn how to engage with them and learn how to create goals that were meaningful to them.
And even as I started as like a new BCBA, I'd go into parent trainings and I'd be like, well, no, we need to follow this like curriculum I found, right? Like we need to first go over the 4 functions, and then we need to go over like the strategies, and then we'll do like, but I skipped over like, will any of this even work for them?
Yeah.
And then I would see like nothing is working, nothing is changing at home.
Like,
so I would feel really discouraged too. I'd be like, this isn't working. I feel like the parent, I would judge myself so hard and be like, these parents, like I'm not helping them.
Yeah, and then you feel so guilty. You're like, this is my whole job, and
it's not working.
It's not generalizing to the home. So going back to like data for, just to give some people some ideas of how we can do this, some things that I do, like for my clients and parent goals. So I only do 1 to 2 parent goals per like client report. So I will create an Excel document with each of my clients, and then I'll put both of their goals, and then I'll have like a weekly tracker for my weekly meeting, and it's just a checkbox.
Yeah.
Did we discuss this parent goal this week? Check. Or did they report that they accomplished this goal this week? Yes or no? And I feel like that's really simple for us. Most of us are pretty fluent with Excel.
Yeah.
And then it gives us that data to report on.
That's perfect. Because even as I was like shadowing to take over some of my clients, I noticed like this, parent, like BCBs were just checking in.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what the parent goal was until I went back and read it later.
Yeah.
They were talking about all of the stuff or what happened during the week, but no one was always going back.
You're not reflecting on that goal itself.
No. And you really don't, I think, until like you sit down, or a lot of people sit down and they're writing up like the report for insurance again, right? They're like, oh, here's this was our goal. Let me think. Like, how do I measure? And like a lot of times when I would ask people, like, what are you putting? They'd be like, I put 50%. Like, we're 50% mastery. I'm like, well, how do you know that?
How do you know? We need the data.
Yeah. And there's just like,
graph.
A lot of people are saying, like, it's just something you know.
It's just something
how do you know?
Right.
I don't know.
Kind of to like back to feasibility of treatment. So we have these goals. Like say we're working on a behavior reduction goal in the home, and so we create these behavior plans for the center for our technicians to follow. What are you doing with your parent goals and your behavior plans? If they have like a complex behavior that really needs to reduce across setting, how are you creating that plan for parents? Are you using the same one that you write?
Not the same one, because I feel like parents don't understand our jargon.
It's not fair to ask them to.
No, and it's not their job, like you said. It's not their job to learn it. They're not a behavior technician. They're not a BCBA. They're not in school for this. They just need to know how to help their child at home. So there's nothing wrong with simplifying our like behavior plans that we use in center for the home. And, some of the strategies we may use might be a little different too, right? Because while we might say environmental modification in the center, that's probably not possible every time at home.
Can you imagine if somebody asked you, like when Kinza starts walking and they said, okay, the way that we're going to prevent her from getting hurt, I need you to put all of your furniture into the bedroom from the living room.
That's not possible.
You can't manipulate the environment to that extent. It's not feasible.
Can't. So you need to sit and figure out, like, will this work for the family? So something I've been doing lately is, like, as we're going over, like, the behavior plan for home, I'm like, this isn't, like, the final one. Let's go over it together. And, like, do you think you can do this? Yes. If there's any, if they hesitate at all, I'm like, okay, like, let's stop. Well, let's rewrite it. Let's figure out what works for you in the home, and let's do that. And I try not to give them more than, like, 3 strategies.
Right.
You need to be able to remember them on top of your head like this.
Like in the moment?
Yeah.
And are you going to be like, have this whole toolbox and know 5 different strategies antecedently? No. You're not going to know what to do.
So you need to just give them like something easy, something that they can remember.
Yeah.
And really, I feel like even 3 might be a lot, you know? Give them something that they can remember all the time and maybe like use across different behaviors if the like child is having more than one.
You know, something that I've started doing in my parent meetings that I really didn't think about before was asking parents like how they learn best. So some parents learn well when they read like a concept, but some people need to learn visually. And some people need to learn hands-on. So I'm asking them, okay, like how do you learn best? Like how can I help teach you this in a way that's meaningful for you?
Right.
And then something else with like my behavior plans, I love my jargon, and it's important for me to know, and it's important to submit to insurance and say, this is why we need this plan. But I love breaking it down, like without using a single term of jargon into like a flow chart.
Right. Oh, that's
so
amazing.
I break it down into a flow chart. Sometimes if my parent says that they learn visually, I like to do like little visual cues in there, like within the flow chart. And that seems to like help for parents. And then I also ask them, like, I know that it's hard for them to make time to come into those sessions. But I dedicate...
model.
Come watch. Yeah, I ask them. I say, you know, are technicians working with your child on reducing flopping? I want you to watch what the technician does, and I want you to let me know if this is something you can do in the home.
Right.
And like you said, if not, how can we modify this?
Right.
Because it is
And we might have to take that back to the center if it's something really important and the parent isn't able to do it at home. We might need to change what we do in the center too, right?
We have to model. Yeah, we have to be flexible.
We have to be flexible.
Part of our job.
Be like, parents can't do this. We have to do something they can do so it can be consistent across all environments.
Sure.
You know? And that's fine. I feel like that's fine.
I agree too.
All right. So what do you do when you have a family? You know, a lot of our families, you know, they might not understand English.
Yes.
You know, English is their second language. So what do you suggest for families of like that are in that boat?
So something like I first consider is this their second language? How much do they understand of English first? If they really struggle to understand English, I'm going to ask to get a translator in my parent meetings. Because yes, they might understand English a little bit, but I want them, it's most important for them to completely understand what I'm saying. I'm not going to assume that
if they're only picking up on one part of what you're saying.
That's not fair. Like then they're not getting anything out of that parent training, like breaking it down. And then I ask them if they want me to write up the behavior plan or flow chart or treatment plan in like their primary language.
Right. That is very helpful. I love that.
Yeah. Are you doing anything in your
I feel like for me, what I've been doing is trying to model it as much as I can. Be like, maybe they'll and I feel like if I like grew up in a family where my parents, you know, didn't know English that well, and for them, like I went back as a BCBA and I asked them like what did you do like when like teachers were telling you, they like kind of just looked at what everyone else was doing and like went from there. That's, you know, like imitation
imitation is our core skill.
So like I try to like model it for those parents too.
Yeah, that's a really good point. In your parent meetings, what are some of those like meaningful questions that you're going to ask your parents to ensure that like the treatment plan is effective for them?
So one thing I try to start with is I try to get to know them, because I think the first time, like as a tech, I asked, like the BCBA was like kind of bitching, like, oh, like parent doesn't do this, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, what does like the parent do? Like what's their job? And the BCBA didn't know. She was like, well, I don't really know. That's and I'm like, so well, sad. Like, you know, like, do you know if they're in the house? Do you know if they're a housewife? Do you know if they're working? Are they working from home? And the BCBA had like no answer.
Or if they are like a stay-at-home mom, do they have 4 other children?
Right. Yeah. Like how many siblings are there? Like, are there other people in the house? Like, a lot of our families, like, have grandparents in the home. How many people are, like, a caregiver to this child?
Yes.
How many people need to know, like, the plan?
It's also imperative to just, like, know what their stress level is in general. So asking them, like, are you under a lot of stress right now? Like, is me asking you to do this going to cause
more stress? And that's a good, like, starting point, I feel like. And then slowly, like, okay, like, let's start going over this information now. Yeah. Once I know what their home looks like. And if they're able to like implement these strategies that I came up with for them.
Yeah. We learn, so we push really hard, especially for our technicians. Pair with your child, get to know, build rapport. Why aren't we doing that with our parents?
We don't teach them how to play with their kids, I feel like. I feel like that really should be one of our first goals do they know how to interact with their child?
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like a lot of parents do struggle with that. You know, when they have a child with ASD, they're like, well, they're just stimming. And they don't know what to do or how to like engage with this like child. So like trying to teach them like, you know, maybe we found something that works really well in the center. Like, why don't you try this at home?
Yeah.
And see how that goes. If that's not working, maybe bringing the child into our session.
Yeah, like bringing that.
Yeah. Or like taking them into the gym and be like, look, watch how we play.
Yeah.
And see if you can do it. And then like, and also like, you know, when we're modeling, I feel like we also need to kind of step back to be like, you try now. And trying to like guide them in their play.
That's a good point. It's really hard, I think, for us. Well, one, all of us BCBAs have come from being a technician. We love to get involved with the play. We need to learn to fade back. Fade people. Yeah.
It's hard, though, because I feel like, I don't know, we're so used to being in charge. You know, like, I'm the person coming up with the strat. I feel like we're problem solvers, right?
Yeah, critical thinkers.
One of the issues I think also becomes like, you just told me a problem. I just want to give you a solution.
Yes.
And I'm not thinking about like, is that solution going to work for you?
Right.
You know?
Or we're not thinking about if that parent just needs 20 minutes to vent about what they were going through that week.
And we might be the only person they talk to. That's the thing. And that whole week, we might be the only outside person they talk to, other than anyone they have in the house.
And it's our job to like,
listen.
Be good listeners. It's back to those soft skills. We need to be active listeners and engage with our parents and just understand what they're going through.
Totally agree.
Good work.
All right, Kirsten. So after wrapping all of this up, you have, like we've talked about, we have this new perspective as new moms.
Yeah.
Is there something that you wish you would have done differently now that you have this new perspective, like in your parent trainings?
Honestly, a lot that I would have done differently. I feel like I just, like you said, it's a new perspective, and I feel like I can relate to the parents more, and like I see how
hard it is.
How these barriers are going to impact their treatment integrity.
Right.
Kind of as I reflect, I'm thinking about a time I built a lot of rapport with a family, and I expected them to do a lot within the behavior plan. Like I took the behavior plan that I used at the center and I had them implemented at home. Oh,
kind of like what we were talking about, like how that's not really feasible all the time for every family.
And, you know, it took me a while to build rapport with that family, and they reported that they were able to do it, but I never thought about like how this could be adding so much more stress to them.
Right. But did you ever ask that question? Like, how does this make you feel? Or do you feel comfortable with it? Or were you just straight like, do it, and if you don't do it, it's never going to change the behavior?
Yeah, it goes back to our like conceptually systematic knowledge. I took all of
If you told me that, I feel like if I was like a parent, I came to you with a problem and told me that, I might have left.
I know, and I feel like so guilty now looking back on it. And the family was wonderful, and they really loved the treatment, and they were fine with it. But I just like look back and think about how like technological it was, and it just like really it was all of our terms and jargony. But they were telling me one time, so I really wanted them to work on the wait strategy. So like if we think about crying with our kids, their child cried and screamed a lot, and I guided them. I said, acknowledge their feelings, but we really need to wait it out and just wait until the behavior's over and then redirect. So this parent took that to heart, and they wanted to follow the behavior plan as best as possible. So she comes into my parent meeting one week and she goes, we went up north last weekend, and my child was crying, and when we left, like this starting this 4-hour drive, and he started crying that time, and she was talking to her husband, and she goes, no, we really need to ignore this behavior and just like let him work it out. And she reports to me that he screamed the entire
And she did it? She waited the whole 4 hours?
She waited the whole 4 hours. She said that her husband was staring out the windshield, and she thought that he was so done with us, like done with her.
Yeah.
Like what is happening in this car?
I can't imagine, because when Kenza cries in the car, like on our 20-minute drive to like my mom's, I will pull over.
I know.
I pull over. I'm like, what's wrong?
Yeah.
Like, do you need help?
Like anything. So I now think back, like any time that I hear Athena cry, even in the slightest, I'm immediately at her side, picking her up, taking her from my husband.
It's like maternal instinct, right? Like you can't listen to that.
You emotionally can't tolerate it.
So I'm like, what would you do differently?
So as I reflect back, I would have guided her to like, if it was feasible, like, okay, your child's going to scream and cry. That's fair. He's having really big emotions. And, you need to validate it as a parent. Like, how does validation look for you? Mm-hmm. What do you want to do when he cries? Like, what maternally feels right for you?
Right.
And then once she tells me that, I would like reframe my strategy based on like what's going to work for them. Yeah. Like, can they pull over and work through these emotions? And can she give him a hug and like help him through that?
That's amazing.
I just feel so bad, but
I wish a lot of us could have these conversations. Like, looking into like where we work right now.
Yeah.
We were like between all the BCBAs, there's only 3 moms, and that's we just had babies.
Yes.
But before then, we had 1 mom between 8 of us.
Between the 8 of us,
that would have understood like how a parent must feel.
I know.
Everyone else like is coming in like, you know, they're around kids, but they don't know what it's really like.
I think it's on us kind of to shed light on like how we can realistically adjust our treatment planning and our parent trainings and parent meetings. Like, how are we going to accommodate to the barriers that these families are facing?
It's amazing.
What changes can we make in the future?
I totally agree.
Yeah.
All right. Talk to you later.
That was freaking amazing.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want your CEU credits, go to our website at blossomchildrencenter.com.
Talk to you later.
See you.